Hello friends, I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar on Learn to CAAT to provide better assurance with greater assurance by harnessing the power of technology. I'm C. Abdul Rafiq, Chartered Accountant. I passed my CA in 1985. Okay, let me get quickly admit all and we are ready to go. Thank you for joining this webinar. This is a brief introduction about myself. I passed my CA final in 1985 and CISA exam in 1995 and have been specializing in information technology, and my passion has been information technology, data analytics. Let's get going. I have been specializing, as I said, in information technology and especially in using data analytics. I've also used a global framework called COBIT, which is extensively used for implementing IT governance risk management assurance. This is broadly the key theme of this webinar today. Learn a better way to audit using technology. These are the 4 key objectives I have. Why use data analytics software? What are the 7 steps for using data analytics? 3, we look at overview of the updates of the latest release of eCAAT Enterprise and eCAAT Pro. And we'll have a demo of the key functions of eCAAT. Primarily, I would like to spend about 15 minutes max on the concepts, and 30 minutes I'd like to spend more on the practical demo. And maybe I'll have another 5 to 10 minutes for any interaction or questions we may have. This is a vision mission of a company. This is a strategy we adopt. We believe in developing innovative software solutions primarily to empower CAs and CXOs to harness the power of technology. Our approach is to empower CAs and CXOs so that you can deploy systems and solutions for scaling up services, for empowering you to serve your clients in a shorter time. So the primary objective is how can you scale up services using technology? Our solutions are made for the new age digital auditor. We always think digital and look at how technology can be used effectively. And this, I believe, helps us in future-proofing career and accelerate the growth. This is the resolve we have made for 2021 for clients and beyond. If you look at the summary of this, we believe in making insightful analytics simple. Now let's come to the first learning objectives you talked about. Why use data analytics software? We know we are living in an increasingly digitized world and data is available in abundance in digital format. The beauty of the digital, the beauty of the data in the digital format is that it's available in abundance, but it's also invisible. So we should know how to use technology to access and analyze this digital data. And that's what is the fundamental role of data analytics. What are the type of questions data analytics can answer? If you look at 3 perspectives, one, you can look at the past and get hindsight of what has happened in the past. And you can get insight into where is the problem, what actions are needed, why is this pending. And you can also look at foresight in terms of predictions for the future. Data analytics tools need to become the new calculator. This is one of the predictions which was made recently. They say everybody should be using them. Just like calculators are very common and used extensively, similarly, data analytics tool, especially in this digital age, should become as common as the new calculator. It's also important that people have to become much more literate with data, especially digital data, so that they can know how to harness the power of technology. And this should become a part of the role, whether you are a CA in practice or whether you're a CXO or whether you are in management. Whatever your role, or you are in governance or in government, you should be able to learn how to use data analytics to perform your job in a much better way. Why is data analytics used. They said data analytics is a must-have capability for the audit function and is widely expected to become a big part of its future. What is data analytics all about? They say it's all about the science of examining raw data with the purpose of drawing conclusions about that information. Data analytics can be done from two perspectives. One is from a technology perspective, and the second is from a business perspective. Most of the cases, as chartered accountant, as CXOs, we'll be looking at the art of data analytics and not necessarily the science of data analytics. It's like we should know how to use rather than worrying about what are the technology, how does it work. Now, what can you do with data analytics? This summarizes the key concepts. You can establish facts, you can explore hunches, you can draw inferences, you can confirm hindsight, you can obtain insights, and you can also validate the foresight about the future. Now let's go to the 7 steps of using data analytics. These are the 7 steps of using data analytics. First, you should be very clear about what you want to accomplish and what are the deliverable you want. Second, identify the data and the platform in which the data is available. For example, the client is using, let's say, Tally, or is using an ERP. And depending on the type of the audit which you're performing, what is the type of data you require? For example, one of my friends who was doing a statutory audit of an ERP software, he wanted to do the sales analysis, or let's say the data analysis or inventory analysis. SAP gives option to export this data pertaining to the sales or inventory, and this data can be exported in Excel. This data from ERP software, that is SAP, can be exported into Excel, and this Excel data can be opened using MS Excel and analyzed using data analytics software. So what will be the platform? For example, let's say Tally, the client is using Tally. Tally has got various types of reporting features, or there are software available which can export data of masters or transactions from Tally to Excel. You can export the relevant data as required, and then you can analyze. It's also important that you should understand the process system which is generating the data. You also document what are the type of tests you want to perform and what are the controls you want to validate. I'll show you a little later some of the practical examples of how you can perform this test. And once you established the criteria, the audit tests and the procedures you want to perform on the digital data, then you are ready to apply the relevant tools and techniques. And once you applied the tools and techniques, then you're ready to draw inferences and insights. Recently, I read a report which said you can do audit of 3 months in 30 seconds using artificial intelligence. Now, there could be a solution which actually provides this information, but you should always remember the auditor cannot be replaced. What technology can provide is it can provide information which is processed as per requirements. But to infer insights, it requires an auditor. It requires a business process understanding. So there is no ready-made software which can replace the audit process. What at best it can do is it can process and identify the exceptions and irregularities as per the pattern you have actually stated. We'll see examples a little later. So the auditor always has an important role to play. One of the important things which happens in any software is there are reporting and query features. Using this, you can extract the required information and you can analyze. The beauty of data analytics is you can do dynamic analysis depending on the requirement. For example, let's say you analyzed inventory. Based on that, you found, let's say 30% of the inventory is more than 3 years. Now you'd like to look at the details. You can drill down and get the details of this inventory. Now further, you'd like to analyze who are the people who purchased. You'd like to summarize these purchases as per the user. You can do further analysis and find out who are the purchase managers who place these orders. Further, you want to see what are the recent pattern of the purchase made. Then you see that out of the 30% of the purchase which have been made, which is like inventory, you find still purchases have been made recently. Now that gives you a lot of insights that whether the inventory is actually available or most of the inventory which is more than 3 years is not available or unusable. Now the computer or the software can analyze depending on what you want. but you should be able to draw the inference and insights based on which you prepare the output and the reports. Just to give an example. Now, for example, if you're doing a financial statement audit, these are the 7 types of assertions. You may like to look at completeness of the data. I'll show you a simple example a little later using data analytics software. You'd like to look at accuracy of the data, the validity of the data, or you'd like to look at authorization, segregation of duties, compliance or cutoff. All these are key concepts of financial statement assertions. And all these can be performed on the digital data. You need to remember, in the case of digital data, the controls are embedded inside IT. You can use data analytics to evaluate this digital data. We are right on time. Before we go further, let us look at some of the key functions of data analytics. Excel is also an excellent tool for doing data analytics. But you should remember, Excel, although it's very simple and easy to use, it has its own limitations. I'll show you a little later when you see the functions of data analytics software, you'll see that what you can perform in Excel may take 10 minutes to perform through various macros and various procedures, whereas in data analytics, you can perform through a few clicks. The important thing to remember is Excel was not designed with the audit perspective, whereas data analytics software has been designed with the specific perspective of the audit or the analysis from the assurance perspective. These are some of the key functions and tests using data analytics. Let's say you got a list of inventory data. You want to perform aging analysis. Based on the parameters, you can perform in Excel also. But you can perform in a much more effective way using data analytics software. Similarly, let's say authentication or authorization or limit check or range check or reasonableness check. Any type of data analytics you want to perform, you can perform much more effectively using data analytics software. You may remember the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. These are the top 20 data analytics features which should be available in any of your data analytics software. Now let's look at the demo of new functions and enhancements with a quick overview of what is there in eCAAT. eCAAT is India's first CAT software. It is developed by auditors for auditors to audit any digital data. It has been developed since with an expert team with a man effort of more than 25 man years. Now the simplicity of eCAAT is it's an add-in to MS Excel, and it just sits with MS Excel as a new tab. And it can be used in any assurance, compliance, analytics, or a BI assignment. It has the right blend of simplicity, ease of use with a few clicks, and it's ready for use with minimal training. When I show you the demo, you'll see most of the complex functions of data analytics you can perform in a few minutes, and you can learn how to perform this in a few minutes. eCAAT is available in 2 flavors. One is called as eCAAT Enterprise, and the second one is called as eCAAT Pro. eCAAT Pro is primarily made for professionals. It has got a limited number of features, but more focused from an audit perspective. Now, this is what you can do through eCAAT Pro and eCAAT Enterprise. Now, if you look at the complete synopsis of what is eCAAT all about, eCAAT is an add-in to MS Excel software. It's easy to use and simple to learn. It has the look and feel of MS Excel, but with the power of the database. Now, it has more than, if you look at eCAAT Enterprise, it has more than 380 functions, whereas eCAAT Pro has more than 120 functions. In both the cases, you can perform complex analysis in a few clicks. Not only that, it also does auto documentation, which I'll show you a little later. Now, if you want to look at feature-wise or panel-wise analysis, you find when you use data analytics software like eCAAT, these are the benefits you get. You can do what is called as time saving. There are functions which actually enhance the power of Excel. You can perform data analytics of fraud investigation. You can perform business intelligence, MIS or fraud investigation. You can do documentation. So these are the panels available, and it gives you a listing of the functions available as per each of the panels. Now, if you look at primarily from the features point of view, this gives you the complete summary of the features. Why use eCAAT? This gives you the 7 key benefits of using eCAAT. If you have to summarize all that I've discussed so far, eCAAT or data analytics software helps you to apply thought to technology. So you have got the knowledge, you've got the skills, and eCAAT provides you the tools and techniques so that you can provide validation through your assignment. eCAAT can be used from 3 perspectives: from the audit perspective, as a fraud investigator, or by the management and the CXOs. How to use eCAAT is very simple. You need to understand the business process. You need to understand the regulatory requirement depending on the scope of the assignment. You need to understand the organization structure, understand the technology deployed. Once you have an understanding of this, you will establish the criteria which you want to evaluate for the purpose of audit. And this is where you use CAATs or data analytics. CAAT refers to computer-assisted audit tools and techniques. These are the 7 steps for using eCAAT for data analytics. First, like they say, an actor prepares, a data analyst also prepares. You need to get data ready for data analytics. This is where you curate the data, get the data in the right format. The most important thing to remember when you're using eCAAT tool or a data analytics tool is that data should be in a tabular format. When a tabular format means the first row will have the column headers, and these are unique. And after that, you have the data. And the data follows a specific pattern. For example, if you got date fields, you got all the data in the date field only. If you got text, is all the text is available in the text field. You always make copy of the file and perform analysis on a copy of the file, and then you perform harmonized data sheet to get the data and headers in the right format. And you document the field description. This is what is called as a data dictionary, so that you know for each element of data what are the type of criteria you want to evaluate, what are the type of controls you want to assess. You also delete fields which are not required, so that you work only on the data which is required. You remember you are working on a copy of the data, so keep only the data which is required for your analysis. Then the analysis becomes much more faster. You review the field formats to check whether all the columns are in the right format. For example, if you got date, whether all the data is in the date format. And then you remember the most important thing, any data analytics software, including eCAAT, can perform the functions and display the results. But the user must select the right functions and the fields to get the right results. And most important, to draw inference or insights from the results. So this gives you the complete summary of what data analytics is all about, or eCAAT is all about. It's primarily a time saver and enhancer to Excel, and you can do BI and MIS on the fly. And the bottom line is you can do data analytics in a few clicks. These are the panels. These details are also available on the website. Now let me take you to the updates and release of March 2021 and the new functions and enhancements. Before that, let me just close this presentation. Now, if you summarize all the discussion we had so far, when you're using data analytics, you need to understand the business process controls, identify what is the information criteria which you're going to use for the purpose of evaluation or the audit test you're going to perform, identify the tools and techniques you want to use, and then you analyze the reports for validation. So you can do more in less time using eCAAT software. It's not about the data that you have, it's about the data that you may want. Like they say, in this digital era, we are flooded with data, but starving for information. So you can provide assurance at the speed of business using data analytics software and provide trust of the digital data using technology. The most important thing when you use data analytics is you get the big picture through data analytics, and you can chart your roadmap to add value and be relevant. Now, this will conclude my presentation. Now, let me go specifically now to the software. Now, if you see here, now I've already opened this particular file, which has got a list of the functions in eCAAT. Now, this is the, if you look at this side, eCAAT is an add-in to MS Excel. Now, you see here, this is an add-in software. We have some more software. We've got TCAT. Now, this is an additional software. This is also an add-in software. We'll be covering this presentation webinar on 6th March. Where I'm talking about here, we're talking about primarily from Tally data. You can export the masters and the transactions from Tally to Excel in a structured format and do analysis. We also got one more software called as E2TallySoft. This is for getting data from Excel format to Tally using the Excel format, which means you can automate the import of masters and transactions into Tally in a few clicks. There may be thousands of transactions or thousands of masters. You can perform all this in a few clicks. Now, let me come back to eCAAT Enterprise. Now, this is software. As I told you, if you see here, this is a curate panel, this is a profile panel, analyze, investigate documents and utilities and tools. Now, if you just to give you an idea about what are the type of functions and what is the volume of functions here in each of these features. Here I'm just using for the purpose of demo eCAAT Enterprise. As I said, eCAAT Enterprise has got more than 380 functions, whereas eCAAT Pro has about more than 120 functions. Now, if you look at this panel, now let me just quickly summarize and give you this before I give you the demo. Now we actually have this category. Let's say if I look at the panel, this is a panel. This document is also shared with you in a PDF format when you become a customer of eCAAT, and is also available online. For example, here if you see, we give this list of all the functions. Okay, which means you can analyze just by looking at this, you can analyze what are the type of functions you can perform. For example, in curate panel, we got the menu remove. In remove, what are the functions available? You can remove non-alphabetic characters. And then this gives you a brief description what you can perform. Like that you have, now if you see here, totally 25 pages of functions. Now you got the delete menu under the curate panel. This gives you a list of functions you can perform. Then again, you got transform menu. Then you have convert menu. Then you have format menu, then transpose, data menu. Now, if you, like that, we have got, like I said, more than 380 functions. Now, if you look at the details menu, you got column statistics. What can you do in column statistics? It displays the column-wise statistics of numeric data, date, and character data. Okay. Now, let me come back to Excel and then show you the functions. Okay. Let's come back to the. This is what I was telling you. So, as per the panel, now similarly, if I look at from the point of, let's say, the functions, let me directly go to the functions. If I look at the functions, now if you see here, totally 383 functions are available. Now these are the complete list of all the functions which are available. I would like to see that you are at least we give a demo of 12 to 15 functions in this webinar, the most important functions. Okay, with this, let me close. Whenever you're using data analytics, it's important that you keep only the worksheets which is required for you. Now, before I get into this, I was talking about the latest release. We also have the release notes for each of the software. Now, let me take you to the release notes. Now, if you look at the release notes, this is the eCAAT Enterprise version 7 build. Now, if you look at this, this is for 2021-03, that is March, and this is the first release. Now, new functions added. We have got a very interesting function called eLambda. Lambda is the new function which is supposed to be available in the beta version of Excel. Now, what does Lambda do? You can actually automate your functions and parameters in Excel, which means you have created a function by writing a macro and various other functions. Now, you can actually save that and you can use it whenever you want by providing the input or the parameters for this. We have used the same concept and included it in eCAAT also, and eCAAT Enterprise and eCAAT Pro also. I'll show you a little later the demo of how it works. We also have brought in certain enhancements. For example, in the documents rerun, auto rerun option has been updated with a new option to say selected list of functions. And we also have this one combined multiple workbooks, which means you've got multiple workbooks. You want to extract multiple workbooks from multiple worksheets and then combine into a new workbook, you can do that. And now if you see here, again, I'm going to give you a demo of this. We also have got various other functions. Now, for each of the releases, we've got a list of functions which have been added, the enhancements which have been brought in. So we always suggest whenever you buy the software, have a look at this because it will give you the complete chronology of the updates you brought into the software. Similarly, if you see eCAAT Pro, this gives you a list of the new things. The same functions what we had in eLambda, we have brought in eCAAT Pro also. But the small difference, now eLambda is applicable not for all the 380 functions, but for about 100 plus functions. And in the case of eCAAT Pro, this is available for about 46 functions. Wherever possible, whatever updates we do bring in for both eCAAT Enterprise and eCAAT Pro as applicable. I'm also planning to do individual recording for each of the functions so that whenever you want to test any functions, you can understand this. Now, this is a list of the functions which are available here. For example, let's say for eLambda, we also have some sample data which you can work. For the demo, I decided that we are going to give you a demo of 12 to 15 functions. Let me close this. Now, I just want to give you an idea. Now, if you look at this, let me see how many do I have available in eLambda. See, we got, no, I think, yes, 1 minute. Let me clear this. Now, if you see here, available eCAAT, if I put Y here, you should be able to get an idea about what are the functions we got in E lambda. Now see, 100 functions are available in E lambda, which means you can perform functions, the same function for multiple workbooks at one go using this concept. Similarly, in eCAAT Pro, we have added this, and it's available for about 46 functions. Let's check this. Yeah, it's available for about 46 functions. Let me quickly now give you a demo of the functions. So I'm going to keep only 1 or 2 files open so that becomes easy. Now I'm coming to the sample data. Let me get started with the E lambda function itself. Now for this, the concept I told you is, let's say I've got the sales transaction file. Okay, and this sales transaction file, I've already performed a classification function. Okay, now I have the sales transaction. Let me perform this again so that you get an idea. I got this function. I'd like to classify this data. Now I come to data. Now this is like the pivot table. I classify this data. I'm showing you the difference between how you perform this function using the normal function and in E lambda. I do the total of sales. Here, if you see, I can perform only for the active worksheet. Okay, I say okay. I can get the result in the result form, which means I can get the result in the result form. When I get the result in the result form like this, now here itself I see there is 2 names where the name itself is not available, and then I get what is the count. Now I'd like to sort this. Now I just to a single click I can sort this in ascending or descending order. So this is important. Not only that, if more than one, I can also drill down and get the data completely. I also have the charting function. Now this is for one function. Now let's say I have got multiple worksheets. Let me come to this data. Now see here, I got the sales trans file. There are 3 files of sales trans which have similar column and structure. Now I'd like to perform this function for all the 3 at one go. Okay, now I'm opening only one file. Now let's see, I come to templates. I come to this E lambda. Now here, if you see, I'm going to multiple workbooks. I select the place where the files are available, the folder. Now these are available in this folder. Now I've got this folder, select files, sales trans. Now it identifies workbooks which are available. I select the workbook. So it does the validation. Then I select and insert the worksheets which are available. I select the next workbook. Now remember, whatever analysis I do, I can perform for all these functions. In this workbooks, I select the worksheet which I want. These are the worksheets which I'm selecting. Okay, and then I say okay. Now you see the beauty of this. Now it shows me all these functions. Now what I want to perform was classify. Now I have got this classify. I just double click. It opens the classify form. Now it says I want an existing workbook or new workbook. I want an existing workbook. Now I want to do classify. Earlier I had done on name. Now let's say I would like to do it on user ID, and I want total of sales. Now this function is performed. I also want the, let's say, the average, minimum, max. Now this function is performed for all the worksheets which are selected on all the workbooks. So this will be done one by one, and it will open the workbooks which are not opened, perform that analysis. Now you got this result. Now, for example, in this case, for this worksheet 1, okay, this is the result I have got. As per each of the user ID, it gives me the details. Not only that, it has also performed the result for these 2 files. Now, if I open this file, you'll find that this function has been performed. It has opened the file and it has performed the function and added this. Okay, which means you can perform functions on multiple workbooks and multiple worksheets in one go. Let me also check with the third file. Now, if you see here, I've got this third file also. Now it becomes very easy to audit. Let's say I'm doing a GST audit or any type of audit where I got the data from multiple workbooks. I can analyze, perform the same function at one shot in one go. Now, for how many functions can I perform? If you look at the data, what I have got now, like I told you. Okay, now let me come back here. Let me keep it down so it becomes easy. Right now, I come back to eCAAT Enterprise. See, this just sits in with Excel. So when you click on this, Okay, there is a problem because there's a link, that's why it's opening out to yes. Now let's come here. So if you see here, they just sits additionally as a part of eCAAT Enterprise. I'll also show you tomorrow, there is a separate independent data analytics software called SoftCAT. I'll be giving a demo of that tomorrow, where I'll show you that you can import the data into the data analytics software and perform the analysis. Now in eLambda, this is what I was talking about. I got these functions. If you look at these functions, what are functions I want to perform? I said I can perform for multiple functions. Okay. Now for how many? Let me just give you an example. I say okay. Now this gives me a list of all the functions which you can perform. Now if you see here, I don't even need to know the name of the function. If I just type the first few characters, it picks up the information. It tells me what are the functions which are available. Okay. Now let's quickly close this and we'll move to other key functions of data analytics. Okay, now let me come back. This is the test data on which I want to work. I close this file also. Right, I'm going to work on this file. Now, this is another important thing which happens in eCAAT, which is a feature. If you see here, we have got something called index sheets. This index sheet will actually create a index of all the files, giving you a complete list of all the functions. Not only that, it also shows you which are the files which are available, which are the hidden files. Not only hidden, there's something called very, very hidden. You can also find this. Now, very, very hidden, you cannot unhide using the normal functions. You can do only through a macro. But when you use index sheets, you'll be able to get a complete list of all the functions. Not only that, it gives you a quick summary of all the number of rows, number of columns, and the total number of cells. And not only that, you can navigate to that particular function. Let's say, now we also kept sample data in each of these functions so that you can practice. For example, you want to know how does the remove non-alphabetic work. I can just go here, let's say remove non-alphabetic. This function, it tells you what this function does. Now I say I want to perform remove non-alphabetic characters. I can perform select fields or the selected range. I can also perform, the beauty is I can also select multiple functions and can perform. I say, okay, now you see what will happen. See, now all the non-alphabetic characters have been removed. Now I want to know how this remove non-numeric works. I just go here and remove non-numeric. Same way, this is what I said, equal to perform this function. Do you retain full stop? It also gives you a message. I say yes. It does the validation. Now this is what I want to do, remove non-numeric. I say okay. Now there may be 2000 records. See, now we already got numeric. So this becomes very, very simple to operate. Now you got multiple spaces in this particular column. I want to remove this multiple spaces and sanitize the data. Now I say remove. I come to multiple spaces. Now this gives a message what this function does. Now I want to remove multiple spaces. Okay, I say okay. Now you see multiple spaces are removed. Now here I've got leading spaces. Now I want to remove leading spaces. Now if you see here, leading and trailing spaces, I say yes. I can select the column. We already given the sample data for you, which is leading and trailing spaces. Now just look at the data, how it is available. Now if you see here, the data is available like this. Okay, now at one go, I can clean the data. This is what is called as sanitizing the data. I get the data in this particular format. This is what I said. So come back to index sheet. This I just showed you the functions. Now, for example, if you see remove, there are so many functions available. You can remove broken links. Quite often you get an Excel workbook from somewhere and you find it's got broken links. And every time you open, it keeps on giving the message. You can remove this at one shot. Okay, you can remove links or formulas, remove all spaces. You can delete empty rows, empty blanks, especially if you've got a worksheet and then you have got some blank rows in between. Now you find when you apply the filter, it applies only to the first set of fields where the blank row is there. Now here using blank rows, you can remove all the blank rows at one shot. Similarly, you can remove the blank columns, the blank sheets. There are so many things, functions which are available here. Let me show you one simple function. Let's come to our sales with items. Now I got this particular file. Now here, let's say I can use Excel along with data analytics. I'm filtering this particular data. Okay, now I want to pick up the data pertaining to, let's say, only the South region. Okay, I got the data pertaining to the South region. In this South region, I also want to pick up the items which have been sold to a particular dealer. Let's say I pick up this Arti Mayer. So this is the data I've got. Assume instead of this, it's now the very little data here. Let me pick up a few more. Yeah, this is the data I've got. Let's say you're doing a GST audit. Now I want to extract this. I have to copy and paste. Instead of this, if you come to eCAAT, I just have a function, very simple function called extract visible cells. So I'll copy and paste and format this data. Now you see the extracted data is available to you in one shot. Now, if you're applying the filter, you want to copy the data manually, you don't need to copy. You can use extract visible functions. Now let's come back here. Let me come back to sales with item. Now this is what has been filtered. Data, I remove the filter. I got the complete list of functions. Now, if you see here, there are about 6,400 functions, records. What I would like to do now is let's pick up some interesting functions which I want to analyze. Before that, I would like to do a profiling of the data to get understanding what the data is all about. I come to data and I say column statistics. Now I've got this various types of data. Now I say I want to pick up all this and I say I want to select all numerical statistics. And then I say I want date. In date also, I get all the date statistics. In character, let's say I pick up only the basic statistics. Okay, and then I say okay. Now you see, for each of these cases, it's running so many queries and it should be able to give you the result for each type of data, which means you'll be able to get a complete profiling of the data at one go in a few clicks. Now you see here, you got the result. We have got 19 types of statistics here. And it gives me, for example, invoice number, what are the number of positive records. Now here you see 6,000 total number of records is 6,670. It also tells me in invoice number, there are 3 records which are blank. It also tells me 6654 records are unique, which means what? If the numbers are supposed to be unique, which means there are 16 records where we have got certain issues. So at one glance, it also tells me what is the starting number, what is the ending number, what is the absolute value, what is the range, variance, etc. Now in the computation, if there is in that particular worksheet you got, there are some computations, you'll also be able to pick up what are the cells with inconsistent formula. Similarly, with sales amount, I get the complete analysis. In the unit sold, I get the complete analysis. Now let's come to the date field. Now you see here, in the date field, at one glance, I've been able to get what are the total number of records. I'm able to audit the cutoff concept by looking at what is the earliest date, what is the latest date. Okay, not only that, it also tells me for each of the days, for each of the month, what are the sales which has taken place. I've also got a MIS function where I can get sales as per the day, as per day of the week, or as per the month, as per the quarter. Like that, I can get various types of analysis. Now, this is what is called as profiling of the data, which means before doing the audit, you get a complete profiling of the data. This particular information, you want to document it, you can just click on Excel view. Okay, so this will be automatically stored in Excel. So at one glance, you will be able to maintain the documentation. Another interesting part which I told you is the documentation part. Now, if you come to the log, now you have something called the activities log. Now here, all the functions which are performed, it gives me a complete history of all the functions are performed. What is the workbook name I used, where the file was stored, when it was performed. I get a complete information of all these functions. Okay, now I can also document this view in Excel. I can clear this. Now, if you see, this is the function I performed on 3rd March. All these functions, what I perform now, are available here. It also tells me the exact time at which I perform these functions. Now, let me take you to one more thing. We have got in the log, we have also got something called the Excel log. Now, what does Excel log give me? It gives me the complete list of workbook name, what is the date on which the function is performed, and what is the file path. Not only that, it also gives me the option to open the file. Okay, so if the file is available in the same path, I can open that particular file. We have got one more interesting thing here in the log file, which is called the audit log. Now, if you see here, I can get to know what are the total number of functions which are performed as per each of the days, as per the function wise, okay, as per the workbook wise, and as per the worksheet wise. So this is what I said. We can also look at the parameters which are being used while performing the functions. This is what I said is the audit documentation. This is where you can standardize your audit process and ensure that all these are available. Now, similarly, you can have the, okay, this is some basic things. You can also get the complete information about your system at one glance. So when you're auditing, you can also look at the record. You can also get the license info. Okay, now let's come back again to some of the key functions which you want to perform. Let me come back here. Now, what I would like to do here is I'd like to, let's say, do a quadrant analysis. So what is the quadrant analysis? Let me show you. I'd like to know based on the unit, this one, what is it? Based on the unit, I think this may not be the right data. Let me go to another type of data for the quadrant analysis. Let me come to the procurement file. I've got the procurement file. Now here I want to perform what is called as the quadrant analysis. Classification, I can also perform a percentile. Let me say quadrant. Now here, it's very important that you should know what are the fields which are available. Now here, if you see, before I perform the analysis, I've got the PO date, the PO number, vendor code, vendor name, material code, material name, quantity, unit price, amount, pay terms, and user ID. Okay. Now, I would like to do the analysis based on the quantity, okay, and the unit price. I'd like to divide this into 4 quadrants. Okay, which means, which is quantity is low, unit price low, quantity is low, unit price high, quantity is high, unit price low, quantity is high, unit price high. These are the 4 broad quadrants. Okay, now if you are to do it in Excel, you know that it's going to take hell of a lot of time to be able to do this. Not only that, I want to display all the results in this way. I'll just say okay. Now there will be about 1,100 items of data. Now you see in a few seconds you got this data. It tells me for each type, okay, quantity, what is that I have got? There are 49 records. Quadrant 2, I've got this 28. Quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Now you may say that no, I don't have the material code or the vendor code. I can do this analysis based on the vendor code, which means for the vendor, I would like to know, okay, what is the purchase analysis we've made? Now here it also gives me the complete analysis for each of the quarters. Now let me do the same function. This is where I told you that you can perform complex functions in a very simple way. What I do is I come back to data and I say classification, quadrant. Now here, what is that I want to do? I picked up the quantity. It's very important that you know what you want to analyze. I selected unit price. Okay, now I want to do the group by. Now I can do the group by, I can do, let's say, material code, which means based on the material code, I want to do the analysis. Now here, I should be able to get for each material code, I'll get what is the quantity I have purchased with the details. Similarly for quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, and all the quadrants. Now you got the data, you can view this in Excel and you can do further analysis as required. Now you'll also get to know that totally, let's say based on the category, you got 400 groups of items. Now, whereas in quadrant 4, you got 42 items. These are the high value items with high quantity and high value, high unit price. This is the third category and this is the second and this is the one. So you are able to get a complete analysis of the data, multi-dimensional view of the data at one glance. Now let me come to one more analysis. Now let's say I'm doing an audit where I want to perform a authentication check. I have got this sales transactions. Okay, I got the list of transactions. There are about 6,000 plus transactions. And I've got one more file, which is the let's see whether I can take this guy on the top. Yes. Now I've got one more file, which is the this sales trans file. Now, for example, if you see here, I got the limit for each of the user IDs. I got the limit. Okay, there are 10 users here, totally 9 users here. And this gives me the sales transactions. This is the complete list of sales transactions. If you see here, based on this, I got about 6,397. Okay, 6,399. Here 6,400, which means in each of these places there are some issues with the data. Just by doing a single click here, I'll be able to do the analysis. Okay, now let's come and do the comparison. I want to do an authentication check, whereby I want to see which are the users who have done the transactions beyond the limit. Now, how do I do it in Excel? First, I have to join these two fields, add the authorization limit here, and then I subtract or do a comparison and find out which are the sales which are beyond the limit. Now in eCAAT, we've got a function called authentication check. Now see how simple it is to perform. I got this particular sales transactions. Here I select the second file, which is the sales authorization. No, this is not the sales authorization limit. This is the sales trans limit. Okay, now I got user ID. Now, if you see, we also given the step 3. Step 4 is select the user ID. Step 5 is you want to find where the step user ID in this is equal to the user ID here. And then what is the next thing I want to do? I want to look at step 6, sales. Step 7 is I select the limit. And then I say greater than. Okay, that's all. So I have selected this step, followed the steps one by one as given, and I have to click OK. Now this should be able to apply this for the time users for 6,600 record, 400 records, and in a Jiffy, I got the complete list of all the exceptions. Now, if you see here, there are totally 19 records where the sales exceeds the limit. For example, this user, let's say SA, his limit is 10,000, but he has past transactions 49,650. Now I want to pick up what are the transactions which are done by SA. I just filter, I can pick up the information. There are totally 10 transactions which are passed by SA, which was beyond his limit. Now I want to pick up what is the transaction done by I get this limit. Okay, this is how you can do dynamic analysis using data analytics software. If I want this in Excel, I just click on Excel. This will be saved in Excel. So this is how you can perform the analysis. Let's say I'll quickly do one more function. Let's say I've got this data. I would like to do stratify the data based on numeric. So it means I want to find out based on, let's say, the sales, and I want to do sales, total on sales. Okay, this gives me this one. I say fill based on this interval it is created, and I say okay. Now here you see I am able to get a complete profiling of the data. For each of this data, it tells me, not only that, it tells me now there are 4 data which is blank. You remember we have some case we had blank. There are 4 items which are blank. I want to see that 4 blanks. Now these are the cases where there are blanks. So I can save this in Excel and ask my team to check as to why this sales data is blank. Okay, now I get a complete perspective. Now I want to see, okay, which are the transactions which in terms of value, which data has got the maximum value. I am able to get this information. Okay, this is how I can do the stratification. Same stratification, let's say I want to do based on age. I just go to the date. Now here you see it's very simple to use. It says on what basis you want to do the stratification. First, select the fields correctly. I've already selected there's only one field. Field totally is the sales field. And here, based on the number of days I can take, or based on the months I can take, I'll take the number of days. And I say I want to do based on 40 days, interval of 40 days. Okay, and I fill. I can also give free interval, which means I can specify the number of days. First case, I may say 30 days, 30 to 90 days, 90 to 180 days. I can give my free intervals. Okay, this is what I've done. Now, based on this, now you should be able to analyze the data and give you the complete breakup for each type of data. Now, if you see here, in a few seconds you got. Now, this is where I said the simplicity and the power of the data analytics tool comes in compared to Excel. Now, I'm able to get what is the first from 1st April 2019 to 10th May 2019. What is the percentage? What are the number of records? Okay, here because only about 5 days, that's why you got only 41 records. But if you see, looking at this, you'll be able to get an idea about what is the pattern of the data. The same data, if I had done it month-wise, I would have got for each of the 30 days. Okay, now I want to do a analysis further. I can get to know, okay, what is the type of ascending or descending order. Okay, let's pick up a few more things. Now I've got this procurement data. Now in this procurement data, let's say I want to perform. Now let me pick up one more thing. I can also, like I said, in procurement, same thing. I want to do authentication check. I can perform authentication check matching the procurement and the procurement authorization limits. You got this employees file February, March. I want to consolidate. I can consolidate the functions. Okay, I can do character gaps. Now I've got this. This is an interesting function which I want to show you. I got something called a fuzzy match. Okay, now if you see here, transaction details are available like this. Okay, now I go here. Now I'm doing a fuzzy match here. I select this and I say arrange. What that I want to arrange on, I select the field, which is the transaction description. Now I want to find split it based on space. Okay, now see here what happens. I can also find duplicates on this. I just have to select OK. Now you see the beauty of this. What happens? It's already analyzed the data and it tells me after arranging the data, this is the type of data which is available. Okay, now you see how many the same transaction has been described in different ways. For example, this analysis you can also perform based on the name. The name is given in different ways. Okay, let's say employee name or vendor name is given in different ways. Whatever the way they get given, you can find this. We have one more function called sounds like, where you can also do analysis based on the similar sounding names. Okay. So this is just to give a quick idea of what are the type of analysis you can perform. I want to perform one last function before we go for the Q&A. I got something called the inventor list. Now I have got this inventor list. Okay, now I've got this inventor list which has got the purchase date, and based on this I want to stratify the data. Now if you see here, we did stratification earlier. Here we are going to compute the difference. Now here I've got the data. This is the inventory data which is available. Now I want to perform this on as on 31st March 2020. This is a list of inventory I got from the client, and I want to do increments, let's say, of 90 days. Okay, I'd say fill. Now just see here what happens. Now able to stratify the inventory. It has computed the, I had, if you see here, I got the purchase date and I gave the inventory date as 31st March. It has computed the difference in date between that purchase date and the inventory valuation date. And based on this, it's computed the number of days. And here you find here, see, there are some items which are bought more than, which are lying idle since more than 1093. Okay, so you know, you see 3 items costing 13,72,000 rupees are lying idle. About 6% are lying idle, which means they say inventory is available, but it is not being sold since so many days. Now here, if you see, based on this, if you just look at this, I can also apply free interval. I know which are the inventory is less than 1 year and which are the inventory which is more than 1 year. So like this, we have got so many functions which can be performed in data analytics using the functions. And all this, it doesn't take much time for you to learn these functions. Depending on a need, you can perform these functions. Now I'll show you one more last function before you go. Yeah, we have got something called the inventory. This is the inventory file. I got one more inventory compare. So I'm going to do one more function called as compare files. This is available in comparative, compare by files. See the type of analysis inference I can draw. I got invoice, yeah, this one, invoice 2019. I select invoice 2020. Okay. Now I want to do analysis based on, let's say, the customer wise. I've got the customer ID. Okay. Now I want to find out based on, for each of the customers, what are the sales which has been made for each of the years, which means I make a comparison between the sales made in 2019 and 2020 and based on the value of the amount. Okay, I'll say, okay, I can also compute the difference here and I can say I want to find the difference between the amount in 2019 and 2020. Okay, now you also got various other this one analysis. I'm not doing this analysis here. I can also perform for multiple workbooks. I can also display the percentage. Okay. Here, I can also look at the result options. If you see result options available in primary, not in secondary, all the things, multiple analysis I can do. Okay, you can explore it. I say, okay. Now this should give me the result. Okay, let's close this. I think there's some reason this particular function, I think there's some problem. This function could not be performed. Okay. Yeah. This is what I wanted to give you a perspective that you can perform various types of data analytics using eCAAT software. Now with this, I'll close. If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to take your questions. Or if you want me to give a demo of any specific functions, I think we'll do in another 5 minutes. If you got any specific functions you want me to cover, I can do that. So you can share your questions on the chat window. Okay, let me come to the chat window and see what are the questions we have. Okay. There is no audio. I'm not sure about this. Is there any issue in the audio? Okay. What you can also do is, I think I'll be uploading the recording of this webinar on a website by tomorrow. Okay, any other question? I hope you got a general idea of what you can perform through eCAAT and the various types of data analytics you can perform using the software. I welcome you to the webinar tomorrow, where I'll be covering the independent data analytics software called SoftCAT. Yeah, eCAAT version. What you can also do, let me just clarify. Let me share the screen. We call this, if you look at the version, now if you come to eCAAT Enterprise, now if you come to this About Us, now this tells you, currently we are running eCAAT version 7, and this is the build. Every month we keep giving an update. This is a serial number. This gives the license period available. This is the latest version, which means now if you want to know which is the latest version available, what you could do is you can go to Helps and Updates. There is an option here called Updates. Okay, if you click on this updates, you'll be able to get which is the latest available. For example, in this case, I got the help file, this one. I can just download, install. Now, if you want to be reminded in 1 day or 14 days, I can also set the reminder. Based on that, I can also get me, I said notification settings updated. It will remind me again after 1 day. Okay, now if you also see here in help, we also got a few more things. Now I want to learn the software. You got something called tip of the day. Now here, tip of the day for each of the functions, we got the tip of the day, which means you can actually get a complete idea of what the function is, where the function is available. And in case the video is available, you'll also be able to get a link to the video so that you can understand how the function works. As of now, we don't have video for all the functions. We're planning to record the videos and make it available to you in the near future. So each of the functions, if you see here, it tells you with a practical example, what is the function, where is it available, and how you can perform the function. This is what is called tip of the day. And you can go to any specific function based on what you want. Okay, so if there is no other question, let's just close this. Let me stop sharing. So thank you very much for joining for this webinar. We look forward to seeing you in the future webinars. So thank you very much. Bye.